Hey everybody, that's right, your boy Chuck. He's here. What's going on? That means we have a raw review coming in, don't we? We do. Right here, my friends. Are we going to jump right into it, or am I going to tell you a story? I haven't decided yet. That's what I love. It's raw. I have no clue where the next 10 minutes are going to take us. I could ramble and talk about bullshit, right now. Or I could get right to it and talk about, bam, Mr. Tatters. I think I just made my choice. Cool. Mr. Tatters is done by Lonnie Webb. When I say done, I mean done. All of it. I might be coming down with something. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, this is all done by Lonnie. I'm even looking into it. He's done the art. He's done absolutely everything on this. So he's the one to look to. He doesn't get to blame anyone for the shit I'm about to talk. No, I'm kidding. Let me give you a little backstory about how this book ended up on my doorstep, because nothing is so simple. A lot of it has been I really like this guy, I want to show off his stuff. They have a Kickstarter, I want to help out. They're a friend, I like the book, whatever. This one was a little different. I'd heard of it. I had talked about it on the Indie Advocate news before, but I hadn't really looked into it. I hadn't learned anything about it. And with so many books coming by, I don't actually seek them out. A lot of them come to me. So, Lonnie is a fellow Texan, and he's not able to get out to very many conventions. And so he got in touch with me and he said, "Hey man, would you be willing to sell my book at your table?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that'd be really cool." So he sent me Mr. Tatters, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, you know what, I'll do that, and, I'll throw you a review, too. I'll check it out, and if I think it's worthy, then let's do a review." It's worthy. So, here we go. This is Mr. Tatters, and this is a good one. So this is a $20 graphic novel. This was the most expensive thing on my table, besides me. Sup, ladies? So it should have been difficult to sell, but actually I was able to easily sell one. There was someone who got very excited, saw this, heard what I had to say about it, and jumped right on it. So how about I tell you guys what I think about this, and maybe you'll jump on it as well. So Mr. Tatters is neat. The way I've sold it, and the way I talk about it when I'm at convention, because I've now been at 2. Oh yeah, now I'm a seasoned pro, people. So the way I talk about it is I tell them it's a mixture of The Invisible Man and The Mummy put together in a horror fantasy style feel in a modern day setting. And the modern day setting takes on the very real, and I need to look at this and make sure that I get it 100% right, because this is actually, the neat thing about this is it's based on true events. I know, right? What's up with this? The character of Mr. Tatters himself is complete fiction and fantasy from what I can tell. However, it takes on the idea of human trafficking. And even here in our Western world and whatnot, this happens everywhere. And so Lonnie has taken real stories and whatnot, and he's shone a light on it in a very real way with this book. So this book is not only just a fun fantasy romp, but it also tells a story that we need to hear. And before we go into the story and all that stuff is awesome, and we're going to go into that. But Lonnie is crying out. This is what I'm getting anyways. He's not spoken to me about this in particular, this aspect of it. But to me, this book cries out for people to understand what human trafficking is and what's going on. So he writes this. He says, "When researching the script, we tried to get direction to pass along to children from police departments in Texas, across the U.S., Canada, London, and France. Not one department would acknowledge human trafficking. Your children are on their own. The events in this story represent actual events that occur every day in the United States, UK, Asian countries, and the rest of the world. You can help. Anonymously report suspected human trafficking. 1-888-373-788, humantraffickinghotline.org. So this is really serious to him. And not only did he do that, but then he said, how to identify human trafficking victims. These 2 pages, to me, are the most important pages in the entire book. Because they take all this story, all this fun, and they finally go, hey, look, we had a good time. However, the shit is serious. We're not fucking around, and neither are the people who are doing this shit. We need to really see this for what it is and find a way to deal with it. And I thought that's awesome. I feel like, and maybe you disagree with me, but I feel like science fiction especially, but science fiction and fantasy, they're at their best when they take real life occurrences and moments, and they fantasize them, and they shine a light on important issues, and this is an incredibly important issue. So if it was just for the issue of human trafficking, I would say pick up the book. But it's more than that, because it's actually a really fun book. So we're gonna go through. I'm gonna show you some random pages and stuff. He has a sense of fun. First off, it starts off we're in Victorian England, and an American comes to England, and he has found this artifact, and while banding about with these lords and ladies, they're attacked. And when they're attacked, everybody inside dies, including the man in question, and the American. And when he dies, he actually finds himself enrobed in this artifact and sucked into it, and so becomes one with it, and thus becomes Mr. Tatters, where you'll see the ancient wrappings and the gem-like eyes and whatnot. And it's cool because it would have been very easy for Lonnie just to be like, oh yeah, he can speak because this is fucking magic. But Lonnie doesn't do that. No. In fact, what Lonnie does is he ends up giving Mr. Tatters a cell phone, and Mr. Tatters basically types in what he wants to say, and then it speaks for him. And I loved that. It was such a simple take. But it was so fun, and it was insightful and intelligent, and I love intelligent takes on things. You know, where like I said, it's magic. He could have just said, nah, he can magically talk, but he didn't. He had some fun with it, and it's funny because this takes on such a serious subject, and yet he never loses, and the book never loses its sense of fun, and I think that's so important. Life is going to bog you down, it's going to beat the shit out of you, and it will try to spit you the fuck out. And Lonnie did not let that happen. Lonnie kept having fun. And even though life did beat the shit out of these people and rough things happen, they still push on. And I mean, I think that in and of itself is something to enjoy and appreciate about it. If I'm going through this really rough, and you guys know, there tends to be, I'm raw, so mostly the raw is me cursing and being me and having a good old time. But if I'm being a little raw, I would say the art can get a little, it's a little rough for me at points. The nice thing is, it's indie, so, I mean, that's acceptable and it's going to happen. Like I said, sometimes it's rough, but it is overall a really good book, a lot of fun, and that would be probably my only negative thing to say, because the story, the characters, they're all there, they make sense, everything's really good, man. It really is. I had a blast with Mr. Tatters, and I'm not having a problem selling them, and that's terrific for all of us, for the indie community, for myself, ching ching in the bank, and for Lonnie, who, ching ching, also gets money as well. So yeah, man, I think man, yeah, I really like this book a lot. And I think this whole thing has kind of reminded me how much we all need to work together. Lonnie sought me out and said, hey man, can you sell my book? And I jumped at it and said, yeah, hell, why not? Yeah, I would love to do that. And in doing that, I helped him, I helped me, but then also you have Mr. Tatters, who has these great powers and he can do all this amazing stuff, and he instead finds a family that he cares about and he wants to help, and he journeys through trying to find their lost child who has been taken, and some terrible things happen along the way, and it's all about working together, man. I mean, really, you're not alone. I'm not alone, unless you choose to be. And I mean, that really is the reality of it all. It's all about whether you've chosen to be alone or not, because people will be there if you let them in, and if you also do for others. You know, it's not all about help me, help me, help me. It's who can I help? What can I do for you? Lonnie helped me by sending me this book. I'm helping Lonnie by telling you guys that it's fucking awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Peace, love, and comics.